Hi everybody, welcome to Gaffer and Gear. Last week we did a tour of my small lighting van. This week we're going to take a tour of my large lighting van. Alright, so I've taken everything out of the aisles, so we'll have a look at what I store in the aisle first and then we'll get into the van. Now I got asked a question last week about my small van package, and that is why do I have everything on shelving, permanent shelving in the van, as opposed to having everything on trolleys that I can just take out of the van. Two reasons for that. One is I store more equipment in the van this way, and number two is I have a smaller footprint on location. So all of the jobs I do tend to be in a domestic location, usually the client's house, or in a small studio where I can't have a big footprint. So what I mean by a big footprint is I can't have a truck with a hydraulic lifting tailgate that takes up 2 parking spots, for example. So this is what my clients wanted. Now the downside to a setup like this is I can't do jobs in places like conference centres or casinos where I've got limited access to a loading dock and I need to get everything out in 10 minutes. So both systems have pluses and minuses. Alright, so these trolleys are a good example of just how much things can change. So these used to be gels trolleys. This trolley always had the cutters in the back, but every other compartment in these trolleys was full of gels, all pre-cut to different sizes for different size tungsten lights. But now I keep all my clamps in here instead. But this will be these two will be merged together into a decent size trolley at some point. So at the moment these are very wasteful of space. But we'll go through what I keep in them. So I've got my cutters. I've got long bar clamps, Cardellinis. Now, if you're an Australian gaffer, you probably haven't seen these. These are called Speed Cs. So you can get those through Modern. Super clamps, safety chains. I keep loads of grip heads. I find these are really handy, particularly with LED lights. Long Cardellini clamps. So they come in handy for getting onto beams and things like that. Next trolley across, I keep gel pads. So these are reusable sticky pads, so you can put small lights like Aputure MCs onto windscreens, things like that using those. Loads of spigots, butt plugs, wedges. Even though wedges is not my job, I keep wedges. A cleaning cloth always comes in handy. Turtles, which are small floor stands. I keep 4 of those in here. Loads of little pegs. Cinefoil or black wrap. Up here I keep even more bar clamps, smaller bar clamps. 4 magic arms, and this is what's left of my gels kit. In the aisle I keep a step ladder, and this is my Stingers trolley, or my power distribution trolley. So I carry a couple of dimmers for practical lights, 5 metre cables, 10 metre cables, 20 metre cables, 30 metre cables. This is all I've got in terms of 20 amp cable these days. We don't run huge powerful lights anymore, so that's all I keep for 20 amp. But I keep a heck of a lot more power boards than I used to. This is, that's pretty much like my studio power distribution these days is power boards, big power boards like that. On the back of this trolley I keep clamps and my gaffer tapes. Now also in this trolley are loads of inline safety switches. So these are 10 amp inline safety switches, these are 20 amp inline safety switches. So I keep these for if I'm working in a high risk environment like say around a swimming pool. I like to have additional safety switches, not just rely on the ones that are in the fuse box. On the power trolley I also keep this little box which splits a 20 amp feed into 2 10 amp feeds. I also keep a stands trolley for my smaller stands, so I've got 6 baby stands here, 6 medium duty stands, these ones, and 6 medium sized combo heads. Now the next trolley is completely temporary, so this has my large cutters in it, so I've got 2 2-foot by 4-foot cutters. I've also got a 3-foot flippy back in here, but the rest of this is actually my Spectrums kit. So this is the amount of crap that you need to run Spectrums. It's a bit of a joke actually. So we've got 2 Ls. I've got 2 2Ls in here, and I've got 2 Spectrum 4s. So all the rest of this GAC is the crap required. So all the diffusers, all of the cabling, that bag's full of the head leads, the controllers, power supplies, battery plates, snap grids. As soon as I figure out how many of these, how many Spectrums I want to have in my finished kit, then I'll make a decent trolley up. I also keep in my aisle a bag full of my small reflectors, which are canvas boards. I use those predominantly for product shots. All of my open-ended nets, my solids, all in different sizes. Now, open-ended nets are very easy to damage, so store them in between your solids. In the aisle of my vans, I also keep my 350 watt Aladdin fabric light kits. So these are 3x3 soft lights, bi-colour, and I keep them fully assembled for speed of setup. In the side of my van, I keep an extendable A-frame ladder. And in the opposite side of the doorway, I keep my heavy-duty combo stands, which is 3 baby combos and 9 super cinis. Okay, behind the ladder, I store a couple of reflectors. So these are silver, one side, mirror the other. I have 4 blade frames, 4x4 blade frames, which I skin as I need them. I have some Kookalarises and some handheld reflector boards. 3 floppies here. Behind those I have 2 canvas boards, 4 foot by 5 foot to use as bounce, and under the ladder I keep a couple of wheels for my large wind-up stand. On my back door I keep a set of umbrellas, and on the opposite door I keep some tarpaulins and swivelling C-clamps. Immediately in the back door I have 3 wind-up stands, so that's 2 standard wind-ups and 1 super wind-up. I use the super wind-up for menace arms if I'm doing long menace arm reaches. I also have a, what's that called, an extender. So that enables me to get through a second story window if I put that in the top of the super wind-up stand there. And I also have tucked in down the bottom here a couple of ultra low combos. So on the other side of the back door I have 2 boom arm kits, which are Avengers. So I'll keep those in as standard. I have 6 jumbo grip heads. Above those I have large safety chains for my bigger lights. I have V-mount plates because I use a lot of V-mount batteries. Now, speaking of which, here's my V-mount battery kit. So there's 20 14.8 volt V-mounts in there. Now, usually there's an additional 6 26 volt V-mounts in there, but they're out on a rental. I squeeze behind the equipment here, I squeeze all of my window treatment stuff. So that's black scrims, ND9 diffusers, things like that. Down here I have my C-stands nest. So it's a bit messier than the C-stand nest in my other van because I have turtle-based C-stands as well, so I can use those as floor stands. And I have drain covers to help me use light stands in the mud. Now, just quickly going back to the battery kit, I have 2 of these TetherTool D-tap inverters. So I use those to run practical lights if I can't get to a power outlet, and I also have a couple of shark fins. So if I've got a light that needs to run off a battery for a long time, I can team up 2 V-mount batteries together. Okay, so let's step up into the van and have a look around now. So I've got 25 12.5 kilogram shop bags. On the ground here I have 3 HMIs, 2 2.5 4K pars, and a 2.5K Fresnel. These 3 lights are the only lights that are not LED lights. The next thing along the bottom here is a 3 kVA generator, and on the other side of the aisle is another 3 kVA generator. Okay, on the next aisle up I have my ballasts for the 2 2.5 4K HMIs, and behind the ballasts, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lamp box, so that has 2.5K spare lamps and my 4K lamps. Next to that is the, the Gemini 1x1 hard. Now, this just happens to fit in this space. I've used it on a couple of jobs and I'm really happy with it. So I'm just trying to figure out if this is going to replace my other 1x1s, how many of these I want. So, and things like, do I want snap grids, snap bags? So while I'm figuring all that out, I'm just going to have the one for the moment. Next thing across is my SkyPanel S30Cs. So I've got 2 of those with intensifiers, snap bags and snap grids. I've also got things like the battery plates, which are down there. Now, in all honesty, I do regret buying these. I think I would have been better off buying another couple of S60s. Now, the next items on the same shelf is my Forza 500 kits. So I've got 2 Forza 500s there in the bags. They also have the Aputure barn doors and black domes. The bags on top, I have a large lantern, a small lantern, and a regular sized dome. I also have 2 of the Fresnels with barn doors. The next cases across on the same shelf, I have my Astera 2-foot tubes. So what are they called? The Astera Helios tubes. So there's 8 tubes in that case. Tucked in next to that is my custom Astera bulbs kit, so it's got 4 bayonet and 4 Edison globes, and underneath that is my Aputure MC12 kit. On the next shelf up, I have 2 Aputure 600Ds with F10 Fresnels. So these have been absolute heroes. They've replaced my 1.2K HMIs, and they've almost replaced my 2.5K Fresnel. Next to those are 4 Felix Q5s, they're RGBW Fresnels, and next to those is my Sky Panel kits. Now with the Sky Panel S60s, I store the power supply separate, and the Sky Panel S60s have ball mounts. So that enables me to get a lot of firepower onto a very small shelf. Directly up above them here is the wet weather protection, so that clips on over the top of the Sky Panels. Each one of these Sky Panels has an intensifier, a snap grid, a snap bag, and a snap grid for the snap bag. Now let's have a look around the top shelf. Now please excuse the bad camera work, there's not a lot of space to walk around in this aisle. Alright, so I have all my snap bags for the Sky Panels there. I have the clamps there, they're for the Sky Panel power supplies. Next to that is the Aputure projection mount. So I've got one of those with the 36-degree barrel. Next to that is a 300D Mark II and a 300X, so they're to complement the projector kit. Going further down the aisle, I've got my fabrics. So this is all of my 4x4s, which slip onto the blade frames down there. So in the 4x4s, I carry, I think it's silk, quarter grid cloth, half grid cloth, full grid cloth. The next bag along is 6x6s, so I carry quarter, half, full grid cloth and ultra bounce, and also a 90-degree, 90-degree grid. The next bag across is my 8x8s kits, so quarter, half and full grid cloths. Then through here I've got my 12x12 fabrics, so that's quarter, half, full grid cloths and ultra bounce. Now directly above the doorway, so the side doorway above, I have 2 sets of rabbit ears and 2 sets of octadones for the Sky Panels. I have 2 sets of 40-degree grids for those octadones. Next to those is my Forza 60B kits, which have the spotlight mounts and Fresnel and barn doors. Next to that is my small LED tubes, so they're the Pavo 6Cs, and also a couple of the small Aputure waterproof lights. Next to that I have my scissor clamps, which I use to turn office ceilings into lighting grids. The next thing along are Z arms, and then I've got all of my frame mounts and frame joiners. Okay, on the next shelf down, I've got 4 1x1 TGL bicolour panels. They'll probably be replaced by the Gemini Hards. Next across is Dado Lights. So I've got 2 DLED Turbo 7s in this box. I've got another box here with another 2 DLED Turbo 7s. This box has projector mounts for those. So I've got 4 sets of projector mounts, different size lenses, gobos, all sorts of things in there for precision work. Next to that is a mini grips kit, so I use that in conjunction with the smaller lights. Just backing up a few cases, I have Prax. So the Prax are domestic light globes. And right down the end here I have a DMX box. So my DMX consists of 5-pin leads, patch leads, 3 to 5-pin adapters. These things are distributors, so you can split the DMX signal and also amplify it. I have 3 to 5-pin adapters, 1 meter DMX cables, terminators. So what terminators do is they stop the signal from bouncing back off the last light in line. And I also have a Lumen radio kit which has a transmitter and 6 receivers. The next shelf down is my Astera Titan kit. It's just easier for me to take that out and show you. I have a complete 8-piece Titan kit with an Astera box. I have the 8 wing plates. I have an Rookie magnet kit. I have a 1 meter and 50 centimeter tube in a separate bag, so we don't have to pull out a large case if we just need 1 tube. I have power supplies, separate power supplies and power cables. I have 2 snap bags, which I use a lot for car interiors. And to get some control, I also have Kino Flow housings. Now hidden down in the centre of the van is a little compartment that has my menace arm kit, pipe joiners and things like I-beam clamps. So in the tub is my menace arm kit. So I've got pipe joiners, I've got the ends for my menace arm, straps, safety chains. I've got an Allen key set in case I forget to bring an Allen key to set to assemble it. I've got the grip head, and I've got the center column. Tucked in behind that on the shelf is all my pipe joiners, pipe mounts, and small bits of pipes to make I-beam clamps. On the floor in the center aisle, I keep 6 rubber mats. I use those as cable covers and as rain covers on my HMI ballasts. Next to the generators, I have spare fuel. And on the other side, I have a joiner, so I can link the 2 generators together. Just moving down the center aisle a little bit, I have 30 meters of 3-phase cable and 3-phase adapters underneath that. This bag here is full of what I call junk blacks. So that's old 12x12. So if we're doing a green screen and we don't want the green bouncing off the floor, these blacks are for the actors to walk on. Next to that, I have a 96 amp 3-phase box with a rain jacket. In my ceiling space, I keep auto poles. I keep the caps, the end caps separate, so they're easier to store. At the very top here of these shelves here, I have 2 12x12 frames, an 8x8 frame, and 4 lengths of scaff pipe, or what's it called, speed rail. So that's all stored up there. I also keep a 6x6 frame on this side, and I keep another 6x6 frame down here. In my passenger door, I keep all of my tie-down ropes. I keep a spare set of sunglasses. I keep a hat or a cap that has a built-in torch, so very handy at night. Also keep a spare head torch or headlamp. In the top of the door here, I keep sunscreen and hand sanitizer. In the passenger footwell, I keep all of my solids. So I've got 12x12 solids, 8x8 solids, 6x6 solid. In this bag here is my denim blacks. So they're not good blacks to shoot into, but they're okay for negative fill. And on the passenger seat, I keep all of my junk bits of scrap, just so I know where it is, and also for my dog to sit on. In between the seats, I have 4 sets of nested apple boxes, and tucked in behind the passenger seat, I have body bags, which are big plastic bags for covering lights should it start to rain unexpectedly. Next to the seat, I keep a fire extinguisher. I keep a first aid kit, and something I also keep in this van is a ice compress, because if you get an injury as a gaffer, 9 times out of 10 it's a sprain. Behind the seat, I keep my PPE, so that's a helmet, goggles, ear muffs, and high-vis clothing. Under my driver's seat, I keep a complete change of clothes in case I get soaking wet on a shoot, and I keep an emergency roll of toilet paper. Now, depending on how desperate people are, that can be a real high-rent expendable. And just a quick pickup, this toolkit also travels with me on a shoot. I've done a whole video on what I keep in this. I also have a bag full of tennis balls for my light stand legs, and a bag full of camo net, which I use to hide light stands if they're in the back of shot. And because of the amount of capital I keep in the back of this van, it is fitted with a millennial anti-theft device. Alright, so a lot of people ask me, why don't I have a roof rack? So a couple of reasons. Number one is I'm getting close to 50 years old now. So climbing around on a roof rack in the rain is fun when you're in your 20s, but when you're in your late 40s, it's not a great idea. The next reason I don't have a roof rack is fuel economy. One of my previous vans, I put a roof rack on it, I lost 1/3 of my fuel economy. So a lot of people are surprised with this van that fully loaded, I get 850 kilometres to a tank of fuel. So I have a huge economic saving by not having a roof rack. Now, I didn't always have a big lighting van full of equipment. This is my first lighting van that I outgrew, and this is the second lighting van that I grew out of.